Had it queued up for you, Mike.
There's a lot of things to unpack with Deion, man. A lot. A lot of stuff. So, before people don't think I'm a Deion fan, that's my Deion helmet. Signed by the man himself. This is a, old school Atlanta helmet. I love Deion. He's going to have a lot of challenges at Colorado. He's going to have a lot of decisions to make. He's already told the players on the roster that if you're not buying in, you can get in the portal. And I think he wants a lot of them to go there because they're a 1-11 football team. And he doesn't want this roster.
I saw that.
He wants to bring a few kids with him from Jackson State. Travis Hunter, who is, many had him as the number one recruit in the country, who chose Jackson State over Florida State and Georgia and some others. He's going to bring his son there as quarterback. But there's so much interest in him. So many kids reaching out from the portal and from rosters that aren't even in the portal, just kids seeing if there's a home for him in Colorado. And then the recruiting that he's going to have. There's only 85 men on a roster, scholarships. So he's going to have a lot of decisions to make. There's going to be a lot of kids coming from Colorado left out in the cold. And, as we talk about the D1 recruiting promotion, the social promotion for high school, myfootballcamps.com/D1. We got the portal promotion up there too. So really it's a very important time for everybody because 2024 kids have to do this now. This is it. 2023 is over in 2 weeks. 85% of it's over. 2025 kids should get on it early. 2026 kids on and on. But the portal kids, we've got a program for them. And I think it's very, very inexpensive. And there's a lot of kids that are – oh, is that the URL? It's D1 transfer?
Yep.
Nice. D1-transfer. Okay. So that one is intriguing to me because it's the first of its kind to pop up, social promotion. It's harder to promote transfer portal kids for the simple reason that a lot of them don't have film. Some of them haven't played. Some of them got practice film. Some of them are trying to get film, from their school that they left, and it's hard for them to get it. So it's not like high school where you get a ton of huddle film and you can go to your coach and get all the film you need. So sometimes you need more promotion out of the portal. But, Hudson Card at Texas and Devin Leary at NC State and some of the big names that have gone in, they don't need help. We're not for them. I want to cover them. I want to find out where Hudson Card is going to land or Devin Leary is going to land. But it's the guys that go in. We've had almost 400 kids go in since the portal opened FBS today. So it's only noon. About 40% of these kids will get placed, and the average is 60% of them will not. And that's a big, big problem. And it's going to get bigger and bigger. So there's going to be more kids in the portal this year than there were last year. And the last 2-year numbers show 38% placed and 40% placed. And that's scholarship to scholarship. So if you got in the portal and somebody kicked you to the portal and they said, listen, there's no room for you here anymore, scholarships are year to year, you need this help. And if you decided to leave because you weren't playing, but you don't really have a plan, you need this help too, because no one's going to hear of you. If you're a Division II kid or an FCS kid or even a low, level third stringer at a Power 5 school, no one's heard of you. Nobody knows you. And you're going to need the promotion help.
Yeah, and there are plenty of guys that can go places. It's just that with all these people in the portal, the guys who are known commodities are going to go. There's no doubt about it. And it's just like you said, those guys obviously don't need our help. But that next tier of guys that could go to a place and contribute and really be and maybe even an impact player, but they haven't played, they haven't gotten in on the field, and they're going to need help there with the way packaged. So you go to myfootballcamps.com/D1-transfer, and I just showed it on the screen before. We have a unique program, me and Mike, but Mike is really driving this because he's the portal guru. Okay.
Pontiff of the portal, I've been called.
What do you call it now?
The pontiff of the portal. That's what Chris Childers. So Chris Childers, who does full ride radio on Sirius XM 84
Yep.
national show, Rick Neuheisel, he gave me the Godfather recruiting nickname about 20 plus years ago. So he decided to make me the pontiff of the portal.
Yeah, that might be better. That might be better because in today's age, that might be more powerful than Godfather of recruiting.
Yeah, and then you got to pivot, man. I mean, kids are going in every 2 seconds. The Farrell portal feed at Farrell portal is growing exponentially. There's other feeds out there that are bigger. There's one feed that we used to work for and work on that we got up to like 85, 90,000 followers. They can't keep up. And the other companies, 24/7 on 3, they can't keep up either. That feed with Portal Jesus, as I call him, Mark Bishonik, is the one to follow. It's just going to give you the quickest information, not only on who's gone in there, but their stats as a college football player, most importantly, where they come from, because if you get a kid like EJ Williams from Clemson just went in, he's from Alabama. Now, I just talked to him briefly through DM. He hasn't heard from Auburn or Alabama yet, but he just went in the portal. He could end up back there, and so that's important for Auburn and Alabama fans. And he's a kid who doesn't need our help, but it's a way to track it. But I will tell you this. There's so many kids hitting up that portal feed that need our help that I'm reaching out to and saying, it's inexpensive and you should probably do it because we'll work with you as a team to put your name out there. Now, I'm not going to call, Jeff Satterfield, who's just took the Cincinnati job today, which is surprising, from Louisville. I'm not going to call Deion Sanders on your behalf. It's not what we do. But social promotion, we're going to keep putting your name out there as things occur. Film, if you get any interest or offers, we're going to put that out there. And I would tell you that's the key, because if you get an offer, doesn't matter whether it's Grand Valley State, somebody's going to see that you got an offer because it's been tweeted out from this portal feed and my feed and your feed. And they're going to say, okay, maybe we'll take a look at this kid. Or if you get 3 offers, then everybody's going to say it. And then if you get a group of 5 or a Power 5 offer, everybody's going to start to offer you. So that's how it snowballs. It's necessary. It's an intriguing thing because high school kids don't really know a lot. They're new to recruiting. This is the first time they've gone through it. Portal kids know a lot. They've been through recruiting. They've been through the recruiting high school process. They are very aware of what social promotion is needed and necessary. It doesn't make it an easier sell, but they're smarter and more savvy, and they understand that this is something that costs money. Nothing's free in life, but might help them.
Quick question on just the portal in general. Is all of this, obviously it's not what the original intention was, but is all of this good for college football recruiting? Right? Is this good? Because I look at there has to be a bad effect in the high school realm. There has to be obviously a bad effect for sports in football on the guys that don't get picked up. Like, people should be telling some of them, hey, you probably shouldn't jump in the portal right now. They're not going to listen anyway. So I mean, that's the other thing. I've seen videos, maybe you have too, because we probably follow similar things, but I've seen videos where guys are like, people should be telling these kids they shouldn't jump in the portal. They ain't listening whether you tell them or not, right?
Right. No, they're not. I mean, that's the thing, is that there should be a portal advisory committee. There should be this, that, and the other. And yeah, that's all great, but they're not going to listen either way. Now, I could certainly prop up, because I've followed the portal since before the portal existed, and then when the portal existed, a couple of years ago, a couple cycles ago, I really started covering it and following it. And I know the nuances, and I talked to a lot of college coaches about this, that, and the other. Advisory could be something that's an easy business, and I could charge exponential dollars for it. where I'll just sit with you, talk with you, and continually talk with you on a daily basis as to what you should and shouldn't do. But it'd be frustrating because they wouldn't listen. Um, and in the end, the kids are going to do what they want anyways, and it'd just be a waste of money. So having me talk to your kid or having somebody smart talk to your kid who's been around the block, who knows, maybe you should stay put, or maybe this is your expectation getting into the portal. You're a Power 5 guy, but you're going to have to drop down. You may be dropping down as far as FCS. They're not going to listen. So it's not good. I mean, this is not good. It'd be great if every kid who went in the portal was a Caleb Williams, who we knew would have no downside to him entering. He's gonna go someplace, or even to a lesser extent. I keep mentioning Devin Leary and Hudson Card, but they come to mind. Drew Pine at Notre Dame. He's going to find a home. There's no question. It just depends on where he's going to find a home. But it's a lot of these kids who will not find a home, who think they will. And I think the thing the sweet spot for this promotion is it's D2 to FBS or FCS, or it's FCS to FCS. So a lot of times a kid will leave a school and go into the portal because he doesn't like the playing time he's getting there, but he's not a Power 5 or a Group of 5 talent. He just wants a new home. He's not happy at Gardner Webb or whatever. I don't even know FCS schools, but maybe he'd be happy at North Dakota State, or maybe he'd be happy at Emerson or someplace where he could play. So that parallel movement, I think, is important. It's not just everybody going parallel at Power 5 or everybody going from FCS up. It's really the parallel movement, I think, where kids need a lot of help and promotion.
I think the big thing here, and it's interesting because this is one of the unique times where our promotion actually intertwines with what's actually going on right now, right? So this is such a critical thing. But I saw, this post here, and I thought I watched the whole talk. Coach Manis posted this. I watched the whole talk that Deion had, and I tell you, he actually didn't say jump into portal. He basically said, if you're not going to be good enough and you're not going to do what we ask you to do, which is going to be a lot, your best thing you could do is jump into portal. It's kind of close to what he said, but that's really what he said. And Coach Manis is close on it, but not what
he means.
All coaches think that now.
It's not what he means. So right. In this case, listen,
yes,
you could have a Mario Cristobal called out the parents of some of the Miami kids that were complaining about playing time. And he was quoted in an article saying, come pick up your kid if you're not happy. Right. Every coach does that. At the end of a season, especially if it's a disappointing season. I mean, Kirby Smart doesn't do it, but if you have a disappointing season or you're a new coach, your message to them is, if you don't want to buy in here, you don't want to be here, get out. Deion's is the same message, word-wise. If you're not going to buy, he doesn't want this roster. They stink. They're 1-11. Most of the players on this team are not good football players who were either taken, in a poor evaluation situation by previous coaches, or just haven't played up to their expectations. Every 1-11 team has a few good players.
Yep.
But what I think Coach Manis means by that, and it could be the headline of a lot of places, is Deion tells kids to jump at the portal. The terming and phrasing that he's using here 100% speaks to, because he did mention positional replacements. If you don't want to be here, but he mentions positional replacements. That's very specific. And he's also saying to them, they don't even know what the culture is. So he's trying to drive them away. That's what he's doing. And it's okay. I mean, listen, he's getting paid $5 million plus a year to take a 1-11 horrible football team back to some sort of competitive level in the Pac-12 and then compete for a championship. You recruit a 1-11 team, that team sucks and they can't hang. So you got to get rid of most of them. And I think he's going to get rid of most of them. I mean, Brian
I
Kelly,
agree.
when he went there, a lot of people left because he wasn't a cultural fit. He was down to 49 scholarship players at one point in time, and he filled it with a recruiting class. So he had a lot of young players this year, and he filled it with the portal and got himself up near that 85, but not there. Deion's going to be playing under 85 scholarship players if he wants to for a couple years. But the problem, he could take 30 kids in the portal. There's so much interest from all around the country in Deion. He can only sign a certain amount of kids, in the recruiting class. But he can take. There's no signing limit for the portal. So I think he's going to get rid of like 40 of these kids. I think you're going to see a max exodus from Colorado on purpose. And then I think you're going to see Colorado probably be the most active Power 5 team in the portal this year.
Interesting. Will Jackson State be active in the portal? Or are those kids stuck?
No, I think they want to go. And he said, he wants a lot of them to stay. But that's not his call anymore. You left. You cannot say what you cannot tell kids at Jackson State to stay when you left. That's hypocritical and it's crap. Now he's going to take a few with him, and I don't know what their grades are. There's also a portal requirement, a credit requirement, a GPA requirement. You can't just take somebody. Well, from what I understand, there's a minimum level at most schools of a GPA requirement, and you have to matriculate towards your degree. So most schools will take your gym classes and your PE and your basket weaving, underwater basket weaving classes and count that towards your GPA, and you'll get above that number. Now, what Colorado's done in the past is they've set their number at 2.5. You have to have a 2.5, which is higher than the standard. And they don't take those basket weaving and gym classes. So they're a very difficult place to transfer to, even though their academics aren't Duke or Stanford or anything like that, but they've got their registrar and their admissions people, and overall their college is not bought into taking anybody with a pulse, either in recruiting or in the portal. Now, will that be lowered? Because they paid $5 million a year to Deion, and he's Deion, will they drop that down to 2.0? Will they start allowing those classes to count toward your GPA? I don't know, but I do know that there are standards. You can't just willy-nilly transfer. Let's say you've been in there for 2 years at a school and you got 6 credits and a 1.2 GPA. You can't. You have to have some sort of, matriculation towards your academic goals for the NCAA to allow that transfer to happen. So that's another thing too. I don't know what these Jackson State kids' grades are. I have no idea. I assume Travis Hunter is going to go with him to Colorado, although he's from Florida originally and he moved to Georgia. He could get a big NIL number. There's other players on that team that have been successful, but some of them already transferred in. Their running back transferred in from I believe West Virginia. I think their top tackler transferred in from Missouri. So are they grad students? Can they transfer twice? I don't know the answer to that. What are their academics? Are they going to have any academic hurdles to transfer? I can't answer that either. So I don't know what these Jackson State kids are left with. Most of them are going to have to stay. I mean, it doesn't matter that they went undefeated and won the SWAC. The SWAC is not good football. It's just not.
It's not.
There's no way to sugarcoat that. So that means these kids aren't great football players. So the Travis Hunters and Shadur Sanders of the world are sort of, outliers. So I think the Jackson State kids are just going to listen, Jackson State's a nice school. They chose it for a reason other than Deion. They'll get a good coach in there and they'll stay. So these kids, I don't feel sorry for them. They're not screwed. But for him to say, I'd like you to stay, but I'm going to go, that's crap. You can't do that.
What schools do you think stand to really gain a ton in the transfer portal in this situation? Are there schools that are doing well, that are close, but will leverage? I mean, obviously Lincoln Riley did it last year. Will he do it again? I saw the quarterback from Clemson's in the transfer portal.
Yeah, DJ. Yep.
Yeah, which we actually talked about this weeks ago with him, that we thought that would happen, right? So You mentioned that you thought that would probably happen. And are those kind of like, are there schools that are going to be leveraging transfer portal more than others as we continue, or is it just the best programs are going to get the best players from the transfer portal?
Now, everybody's going to be impacted. There's not an even playing field, just like recruiting. It's very, very difficult for Notre Dame to get recruits in the portal. They got Brandon Joseph from Northwestern last year, and that was a big one, but he's from Northwestern. I mean, he's got academics. He's got everything you need. They got Jack Cohn from Wisconsin a few years ago to play quarterback for them, but his academics were stellar. They can't take anybody that has lower academic standards than Notre Dame high school recruiting or what they expect. Duke, Northwestern, the same way Stanford. It's very difficult for those teams to take transfers, where it's easier for USC, as an example, to take multiple transfers because they don't have to worry about those academics. So the rich will get richer, simply because of that, but they're already getting richer through recruiting. Everybody's going to utilize it. It depends on how it's a difficult balance. How much do you want to put into high school recruiting? How much do you want to put in the portal? The portal is sort of the quick fix where you can take your roster like Lincoln Riley did from a 4-8 football team and be one game away from the college football playoff. It's instant impact. But is it long-term sustainable to do that? I don't know, because the portal's new. So the rich
I feel like it's like the NFL to me. To me, it just seems like without parameters. By the way, the NFL actually has parameters. When you could be a free agent this time and this time, who you take, how much money caps. So what's so crazy to me is I just keep going in my head about this, right? And we're doing this because we're doing the transfer portal thing, and we're doing the recruiting. As a college coach, if you're going to get fired the way that these guys are getting fired, if they don't win, there's no incentive for them to take a high school player unless he is a slam dunk at the highest level. Now, for FCS, I've seen how great it turns out for a lot of these FCS kids, because the Yale, I don't know if it's a lineman or skill player. That Yale has a great player that's got a bunch of offers for the portal already.
Oh, lineman, yeah.
The Rhode Island guy has a bunch of offers already. So it's important for players to understand that going FCS is an opportunity now versus before. You were like, when I played FCS at UConn, you were an FCS, okay? And that was the level you are, but you were also pigeonholed as you weren't moving forward and you weren't moving backward. Like, basically that's where you were, right? Occasionally a transfer would come from Division I, but they would have to sit out for a year. Now, like, you're almost, if you're not the top guy in high school and you get an FCS offer and you think you might be above that level, it's actually better for you to go in FCS and be a star right away, because if you wanted to, you could just transfer to USC 2 years from now. Am I wrong, or I don't know?
No, it's right. It's very well. First of all, you get the one transfer now as an undergrad.
Right.
And you get the second as a grad transfer, and that may or may not change. They had a policy vote on unlimited transfers. They shot it down, but it's still on the table. But the biggest thing is, for me, it's risky to transfer, because you don't know if you're going to be happy. And we see a bunch of guys. That are on their second transfer, and just it didn't work out for them. And it's always risky to go someplace new, but it's not risky to go, I don't think, from FCS like Albany. Jared Verse, the defensive end who went from Albany to Florida State and had a great season this year. So as a high school kid, going to FCS is certainly not something to shy away from. And it's going to be more important than ever, because colleges are going to hold back. Power 5 colleges and Group of 5 colleges are going to hold back scholarships for the portal, so there can be less high school kids taken. That means more high school kids landing at the FCS and Division II level, and then they're going to have to play their way into that higher level of competition by having success there. But it's risky to sort of build a team as a portal team. Riley had success with it. He got the best of the best. I mean, and Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison and Travis Dye and Austin Jones. I mean, on offense, and Mario Williams from Oklahoma on offense, and on defense, Eric Gentry. And he's sort of picked in, who he wanted because it's USC and it's NIL. But if you're a different program and you take 10 or more transfers, it's very risky. It's up or down. And those guys aren't going to be there for long. If they transfer once, they might transfer a second time. B, right. If they got 1 year left, then they're a stopgap for you. You have to develop the younger players. So, but it's no longer the world of 25 kids, full recruiting class, all in on high school, and maybe get a transfer that's going to sit out a year and be special for you. Or, in the case of a Russell Wilson, a grad transfer that's going to change your entire program like you did at Wisconsin. Now it's free agency. There are parameters. There's no free agency signing period, per se, like there is in the NFL. I mean, there's this window now, but there is no salary cap. You can take as many kids as you want as long as you stay within the 85 scholarship limit. But the academics are the thing that people don't talk about. I mean, you could try to bypass that if you want, but a team like Michigan State did a great job 2 years ago in the portal, and it really got Mel Tucker that $100 million guaranteed contract. Kenneth Walker from Wake Forest really was the key name there, but they had a bunch of guys impact. Notre Dame can't do that. They can't take 10, 15 guys to revamp. So they've got to focus. But a Michigan State, so it really depends on the school. Alabama spot recruits the portal. They took Jahmyr Gibbs this year. They took Tyler Steen. They took Tyler Harrell. They took Elias Ricks. Not a lot of those guys panned out. Gibbs did. But they spot recruit 4 or 5 guys because they're Alabama. But other teams that aren't Alabama, like Ole Miss, didn't have a good recruiting year in 2019, and they were feeling the effects of that on their roster last year. So they took like 12 kids. It really depends on the program itself. Is it going to make you better? Is it going to make you worse? Is it going to keep you where you are? But for kids, it's good and bad. The good thing is, like you said, you could be an undiscovered kid who goes to FCS, has a great first couple of years or year, and gets up to the level he wants to be. Or, you're also seeing a drop down of group of 5 players to the FCS, and they're kind of taking up roster spots for kids that aren't good at the FCS level. And those kids are the ones being lost. Those are the 60% that go into the portal because they no longer have a job where they are. Right. And they can't find a new home. So that's obviously bad for student athletes. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It's incredible. It's amazing for media. It's like never ending content for media. For the actual athlete and the NCAA, it's the messiest thing I've ever. NIL and transfer portal are the 2 messiest things in the history of the NCAA. 2 messiest things.
And they both came around at the same time, and we're navigating through both of them. And kids have a number, so Devin Leary is a great example. Can a team like Illinois, where his brother plays as a quarterback, which is very attractive to him, can they afford an NIL number that a Notre Dame could, where he doesn't have a brother there, but could make more money? I don't know if they can. So that comes into play. Not as much. NIL doesn't come into play as much for the transfer portal kids as people think. High school is where they all got their hands out. The portal kids are there for a reason. High school kids are good, so you're recruiting them and you want to give them NIL money. Most of the portal kids are there because they didn't win the job. They got in trouble off field. They're having homesickness. There's always some sort of flaw or wart with them. Not always, but sometimes. 99% of them have flaws. And they can't come like, listen, I know I didn't play a lot at Clemson, but I want this massive NIL deal if I'm going to transfer you to school? The answer from the school is like, no, you haven't proven crap. High school is different. I had, 200 career touchdowns in high school. I'm a 5-star. Give me money. And they're like, okay, here's money. But it's not as big a factor in the portal. I just mentioned Devin Leary, Hudson Card. Those guys will attract NIL numbers, but the majority of kids are leaving. Phil Jerkovic, for example, at Boston College, is probably going to end up at Pitt. Now, he transferred from Notre Dame to BC. He was good for a little while. Then he got hurt. Then he wasn't good. Now he's probably going to go back to his hometown and play for Pitt. He can't attract much money, maybe some, but nothing NIL-wise. So you juggle the both, like what's going to happen. Colorado does not have a good NIL collective at all. Deion's the name, and with that could bring NIL, but prior to this, they had nothing. So these kids, Travis Hunter could be getting millions from Georgia or Florida State or some of these Southern schools, or is he going to go up to, Alabama and with another promise from Deion, like he gave him at Jackson State and said, I'll take care of you? I don't know the answer to that question. So you have to balance both of them.
Interesting. I think that the transfer portal. So I was like Devin Leary, for example. Devin Leary got injured, right, during a year.
Yeah.
And so is he a grad transfer or is he just a regular?
He's a grad transfer.
Grad transfer. It's a grad transfer thing. I see a ton of. Obviously, even when they like the school they're at, it makes sense for them because they can get a whole new, fresh kind of situation and pick and choose the ones that are good, at least.
And that's also like the grad transfers have been doing this for longer because that was always a rule. You could immediately transfer as a grad transfer. It's been that way for like a decade. So, the Russell Wilsons of the world or the Kelly Bryants at Clemson who went to Missouri, they've never really had that sit out a year stuff. But they do have NIL now. So that's a little different factor. But yeah, grad transfers I could see. Like, why wouldn't O'Leary go back to NC State? I don't know. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he's not recovered. Maybe they want to move forward with some of the younger quarterbacks we saw this year. We saw 3 other quarterbacks this year. Those guys might transfer if Devin Leary comes back. You just got to juggle. You don't want to lose this quarterback who's promising because this guy wants to come back. Hey, pitch the program. I got to get my dog. Hold on. Just pitch the program for a second. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking all about the transfer portal and the things that are going on in the transfer portal for those athletes that are looking for an opportunity that isn't the quite top echelon, but if you're an FBS or FCS guy and you got a pretty good cachet, if you go to myfootballcamps.com/D1 transfer, we're doing a portal transfer promotion, recruiting promotion, me and Mike. It's a unique opportunity. Okay. This is the first of its kind. And so it's really going to be a situation where we're sole design is to promote you in a very short time period to be able to give you the opportunity to get to a better situation. If you're in the transfer portal and you're leaving, this will give you an opportunity. You can see it here. And there's a great video at the top of it from me and Mike where we discuss the transfer portal in depth here. Just watch that video. Check it out. Go to myfootballcamps.com/D1 hyphen transfer to get the portal promotion and really to understand more about it. It's really, really a fantastic opportunity. You have nothing to lose. It's a small amount of money to be able to give you a better future. And that's really, I think, the key aspect of it. And there's no program like this out there. Listen, you can't go as a transfer athlete. You can't go to a combine. You can't go to a showcase. There is nothing like that for you. So you're going to need to be able to get yourself out there. And the way it is, there was over 8,000 athletes in the transfer portal last year. It's probably going to be up 20, 30% this year. You don't want to be part of the 60% that doesn't land somewhere. You want to be part of the group that does land, okay? And 40% of the athletes land somewhere. That means that a gigantic amount, 60%, do not.
Yeah.
So go to myfootballcamps.com/D1-transfer. And
I was talking to Coach Manis about it this weekend. because he wanted to know, he's our lead sales guy, and wanted to know a little bit of the ins and outs of it. So the high school recruiting, the social promotion we have, more cut and dry. You can buy it once, for $200, or you can go into 6 months for $1,000 because you got time. The portal does not have time. So let's say you buy a 6 month as a 2024 kid, you get 6 months of promotion. We could spread that out, do it once a month, keep you on the minds of coaches. This is not that. This is not keep you on the minds of coaches. This is fast. They're going to be making their decisions very quickly. Now, that doesn't mean there's not an opportunity, because what happens is, they're not going to sign some kids they expected to sign in 3 weeks. They're not going to sign some kids they expected to sign in February. They're going to have kids turn pro that maybe they didn't expect to turn pro. And they're going to also go through their spring football with, some injury issues. So it's a fluid roster situation, but the portal generally for Hudson Card enters the portal. He's going to have a home in a week. Could be a day if he wanted, but another kid won't. So he was asking me, he's like, so for $300, what is the limit? What's the time limit? And the answer to that is there really isn't one. We're offering just this. We're going to retweet you. We're going to quote tweet you. We're going to put you on our feeds. We're going to put you in that feed itself. If you have video, we'll do our typical scouting over the video and talk about you over the video so colleges can look at that. And that's it. Like high school kids 3 months from now could have different film than they had 3 months ago. It could be some winter camps that they went to, or it could be some early 7-on-7s. Like there's no new film for transfer portal kids, just none. It's what you have at your school. So really, when we do that video, we're going to do the one-time analysis on it, and we can retweet that video over and over again, no problem. It's a really different package. I think it's so cheap, it's unbelievable. And when we did the price point on it, part of me was like, this is cheap. But it's the first time we're doing it, and it's the first time it's ever been done. Now, what does that do for the kids who don't find a home? Are we still promoting and retweeting them in August of next year? Yeah. It's like $300 could be a 6 month investment of time on our hands, or it could be a 1 week investment on our time. And that's why it's very interesting, a business for me, because we could have an FCS kid no one's ever heard of. We could tweet him out a few times, put out his film, and he could get 3 offers that he likes, and he could commit in a week. And we're done. That's it.
Yep.
You paid for the promotion. The promotion works. We wish you luck. We're going to follow you. If you go back in the portal again down the line, hit us up. We'll do the same thing for an additional cost, of course. Or it could be 6 months. We could take on a D2 kid who is in the portal looking for a new home, doesn't have a ton of interest, doesn't have a lot of schools, and his dream offer could end up being like a Stony Brook. And it may take 6 months for him to get that Stony Brook offer. But like I said, it's not like we're calling coaches on the phone every day and we're working the lines for these. We're socially promoting you, and we will do that for the transfer portal kids as long as it takes. Listen, if you quit football, it's not open-ended. If you're one of those 60% and you don't find any home whatsoever, more likely than not, we're going to find you a walk-on offer. You're going to continue to be able to play football if you want to. I mean, that's really low ball goal, but that's not difficult. And then from there, you could build yourself back up and maybe become a valuable portal kid. But when I was thinking of the business itself, I'm thinking about how scheduled the high school promotion is with the 1 time and the 6 month and the 1 year, and how slow we can go and how much time we have and how you don't want to oversaturate. Some of our 6 month people, they're like every 2 weeks, have you promoted me again? And no. That's not how it works. This is a scheduled, smart. You can't do it every 2 weeks because then people will get tired of you, or they'll think we're spamming, or we'll think we're promoting something that's not real. It has to be done in a timely fashion. Transfer portal? Nope. You got this. You got this window, and it's fast. And if you don't find a home by January, you better find a home by June. And if you don't find a home by June, then you're in trouble. So that's why I think it's cheap, because we could be working on this for certain kids for 6 months to a year. And other kids could be a week, and it really depends on how successful it is and how good you are. So that's why I think it's so cheap. I mean, geez, there's been no resistance to the price here. None.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, I think you're 100% right, and maybe I think that's what we should almost wrap on, because you nailed it right there. What the whole thing is about, and we talked in depth about like the different situations you're in as an athlete. You got to really understand the situation. If you're going to jump in the transfer portal, know what's going on at your school, because when you jump in, there's a good chance if you want to go back. And I actually heard Deion say this: "I'm not taking you back when you jump in." I heard him say that he 100% said, "Once you jump in, you ain't coming back." So, and I not every school is like that, but a lot of them, even if they don't say that, that's what's going to happen. So, make a smart decision on it, understand the situation. But we're here to help you on it, and DM us if you have a question.
That's it. DM us. I'll go back and forth with you a little bit. What's your goals? What's this and that? Talk to your parents to see if they're willing to invest. If they are, then we'll get you the information. We'll get started with you, or we'll have Coach Manis reach out to you. And we're in day one of the FBS portal. Today's day one. In 3 weeks' time, when we're in day 21 of the FBS portal, the desperation level for some of the kids that jumped in day one is going to be really, really anxiety provoking, very, very difficult for them to deal with. They're not going to know, oh, did I make a mistake? And like you said, the Deions of the world, and it's not just Deion, it's every coach. You jump in that portal and you're not Caleb Williams, they're not taking you back. You're on your own now, and you're going to need help. And that's where we come in.
Absolutely. All right, let's roll the outro. This is a great, distinct, smartly targeted, fantastic show.
Fantastic.
And I know you got a busy day. I hate
today. So. I hate today.
Yeah.
So
I'll let you run.
All right.
All right.